Hey, it's Mike Tom, and I am very excited to bring this story to you today. My friend Steve Chaboyer is here. Steve and I met through a Teen Challenge a number of years ago doing radiothons for them while Steve was a student. Steve's a graduate now and on staff for Adult and Teen Challenge in the Winkler office. And Steve, a few weeks ago, you reached out for me, seeing if I could help you somehow. Tell us a little bit about why you sent me that message and phone call and what you were looking for.
Yeah, so I guess it goes back a few years. My wife, she was in jail for a bunch of stuff that she did through her addiction, and that's where she met the Lord, and her life was changed. And throughout the years, just hearing her over and over share her testimony, there was always this one person that she spoke about named Connie. And yeah, over the years, I would just Google Connie and different things, Connie Women's Correctional, Connie Jail Outreach, stuff like that, just trying to find something, right? And I'd periodically send Anna pictures, screenshots of Connies that I found, and she's like, no, not Connie. And so about 2 weeks ago, I woke up Monday morning, and I just had this heavy burden that this whole situation came back to my mind. It was on my heart, and so that day I went to work, and in between things, I Googled it again. I figured maybe God's going to show me something I didn't see before. And I heard you on the radio on Wednesday morning, and I was like, hey, Mike has connections. So that's when I sent you that message, or that's when I called you and asked if you knew anything, and I saw articles on CHVN, and yeah.
Yeah, and so you got a hold of me, and right away I was like, well, this sounds like a group of Mennonite women maybe we've talked to before. Could be them. I started contacting churches randomly, but I was striking out, and so I said, you know what, I'm just going to post it on my Facebook. I have a lot of people on my Facebook that are friends or audience, right? Somebody's got to know this Connie. So I posted it, and I don't know, I woke up the next day, and I was like, I think I might have found somebody, and you were like, no, we did.
Yeah, I don't have Facebook, so my mom actually screenshotted it and sent me the comments on there and said Connie Bredin. And I'm like, okay, so I started Googling that, and this was Thursday morning. I woke up, and it was like minus 32, and I woke up at 7 o'clock, and I just had like this healthy anxiety, I guess, and I actually ended up walking to work, praying on my way to work, and I Googled Connie Bredin, and I saw a picture of a bulletin on a board at a church, and I zoomed in to this. I saw her name. If you want information, call Connie, and a phone number. So I text that phone number, and
that was it.
And that morning when I got to work, what was it, 7:30 in the morning?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Took me about half hour to get to work, and I texted Anna. And I said, Connie's going to call you today. I just felt that was the day because I had this something like.
So you didn't know she hadn't responded or nothing yet. You're just like, she's going to call Anna.
Yeah.
And Anna's your wife here. Anna, what was that like when you got that message? And why was this important? Why did you want to connect with Colleen again? Connie, sorry.
Yeah, when I got the message, I believed it. Like, I'm like, yes, she is going to call me today. I did think Steve was a little bit crazy, but I believed him anyways. I did. It was so important to me because when I was in prison in Headingley, Connie was one of the ladies that came and ministered to us. And she is the one that planted the seed.
How did you wind up in prison? Do you mind telling us a little bit about your story that led you to that prison cell?
Yeah, for sure. So I got addicted to meth when I was 30 years old.
Oh, wow.
And it just spiraled down fast. Like before, I partied a little bit here and there, and I did a little bit of cocaine. And then one night I was introduced to meth, and that was it for me. I got addicted right away and, slowly started losing everything in my life.
And then these women start coming to visit you in prison, I guess, and telling you about Jesus. What was that like at first? Did you want to hear what they were telling you, or were you like, get away from me?
So, I didn't know there was a God. I didn't really grow up in a religious household. I knew there was a God, and I knew there's stuff that you should be doing and stuff that you shouldn't be doing. But I didn't really know about a relationship with Jesus Christ. So when I was in prison, and then they offered one of those programs, and I said, well, I might just attend because anything just to get out of my jail cell. So that's when I was meeting those ladies, and I thought they were a little bit different, to put it in a nice way. They were using words I didn't understand. For example, like the Lord spoke to me, which I back then thought, okay, those ladies must be crazy because I did not understand what that means.
They're on drugs too.
Yes. So, and that's the first time I even heard worship music. I never listened to worship music before either. Yeah. And then one of the evenings, one of the ladies said that the Lord spoke to her on the way to prison, saying that this next song that she will be playing is for one specific lady in this room. That put the song on, and I completely broke down in tears, ugly crying, the whole 9 yards. It was Lauren Daigle, How Can It Be?
What was it about that song and the words that moved you like that?
It was because it doesn't matter what I have done, Jesus still loves me. Yes. No matter what anybody does, God still loves you.
And you were able to believe it in that moment all of a sudden.
Slowly, everything I was, letting go of things.
Connie is that woman who played that song. Do you remember that day in that moment and thinking, I need to play this song? Or is it like a forgotten memory?
I remember the moment when that song was played. And you saw Anna, and she was breaking down. She was just, her head was even down, if I remember correctly. She was just crying and weeping and broken. And it's, wow. You're just wondering, this is pretty amazing. I don't actually remember playing the song myself, and it's amazing. Sometimes you do things or God speaks to you in a certain way or whatever, and you don't actually remember that stuff.
Yeah.
Yet it is for someone else, right? And it's amazing what God will do with that. But I just remember so well that picture of just her. Yeah, she was so touched by those words.
I love that because it's a tiny moment of obedience on your part, right? And you're like, okay, well, I'll play a song, and then on right with your life over the year. Well, it's been how many years now since then?
Almost 5 years.
5 years, right? And away you go for the next 5 years, carrying on with your life. Totally unaware. What's that? How long have you been involved with prison ministry and like?
Well, I started in 2019, and that was even a whole story.
Okay.
About how I got started, because I was no longer leading worship at church, and there was this emptiness inside, and I actually was looking, okay, God, where are you leading? What is my next step? What is my next role? And I was looking back through my journal one day, and at the top, it was like maybe a year or so before, I had written prison at the top. So that's kind of where that journey started. So I started looking into that. And I was terrified to go in there. They do an orientation for you, and I was walking through there, and it's like all these women are looking at you, and just like you feel this
intimidation.
This fear, right?
Yeah.
But it's amazing. The first study that we did in there, God just wiped all that out, and His love just overwhelmed me for these girls that are in there, because you hear their stories and these things that have happened and these things that they feel so worthless, which then is a result of, the actions that have been taken, this emptiness that they have. And that's where our world is right now. And it burdens me. It's,
Yeah, your husband Glenn is here too. Glenn, what did you think when your wife's like, I'm going to prison?
Well,
flip the mic there.
Part of that story is Connie had a brain tumor years ago, and certain times she's lost her license because of that. So I had to drive her there as well sometimes. But she would always be just so excited coming out of the meetings, and you could just see her face just lighted up. And it really touched her, and she knew that she was doing something that the Lord would use. So I was thrilled that she was doing that.
Nice.
And a really cool part of this whole story, too, the day that Stephen called Connie and contacted is only 4 days after we shared a song in our church, leading worship, a song by Passion Melody Malone, and it's called I've Witnessed It. And so it's stories that we can tell. And this story is like 4.5 years old, from the seed to the harvest. And Jesus gets the glory, right? Yeah. It's just amazing. And so, let's tell the story over and over again and again, because he's amazing.
That's what I wanted to tell this story so badly. One, I know a ton of people are going to be excited to hear it and watch it, but like it's the story that's going to give others hope to cling to, right? 4 years later, 5 years later, you're finding out about this Connie. And I bet you there's days in prison ministry where you're left to wonder, what is the point of this and why do I bother coming back?
You do. You totally. It's like, is this making any difference anywhere?
Yeah.
And, you know, the thing that frustrated me so much is that there was a regulation that the girls that you meet inside, you cannot have contact with on the outside. So then you're left wondering, right? Whatever happened. And I would leave prison at sometimes and I would be crying all the way home because I just felt so burdened for them. But it was just, this was like an answer to prayer for me because I have been in that season of just struggling lately about like, what's going on? Like, is anything that you've ever done, right? And then all of a sudden to get this strange text, is your name Connie? It was just, and I ignored it at first because in case it's one of those wacko kind of texts that you get, right? You just kind of want to swipe it away. But yeah, I just couldn't leave it alone. And I was blown away. And it was so funny because I didn't know that he had told Anna that I would be calling that day still. And so when we texted just a little bit, I'm at work, so I can't really talk a lot or anything. And then he sent me her contact info. And I was just like, 4:00, the job is over. Can you guys get out of here? And I couldn't even wait to get home. I had to call her from work yet because it was just such a huge thing to hear what happened. And it's like, wow, God can use you. And you don't even know. You don't even know by the words that you say, the actions that you do, the smile, the littlest thing that God is going to use somehow in someone else's life. And I am so thrilled and humbled that he actually allowed us to meet again. And so you can actually see, wow, this is something that God did use.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so encouraging when you're moving forward. You know, the Bible says, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, my God. And when I think of that, it's like every single day, you know, what are we doing? What are we saying? How are we acting? Be it somebody on the street, somebody driving in a car, just somebody that you meet. What is that going to do? How's God going to use that, you know, moving forward in somebody else's life?
So what was it like, Anna, when the phone rang that day and it's Connie on the other end of the line there?
Steve told me that she will call me later, so I made sure I kept my phone with me. I was home that afternoon. I saw the number, my hands were getting wet. I was very nervous and excited. And then I picked up the phone, I heard her voice, and again, I was just crying. I was just so happy to hear her, and I wanted her to know what difference she made in my life.
What was that like for you, Steve, to watch your wife get to take that call? Were you there when she called?
No.
Did you get to watch it?
No, I wasn't there, but she, I don't know if she called me after. Or, no, I think I was busy, but when I got home, she was, my son said she was like happy jumping, you know, like, like a kid would. But yeah, she was excited. And that was on Thursday, and they actually came out to Winkler on Saturday to see us. And it was, those 2 days were,
What was that like sitting in the living room together and watching them connect? And did they cry? I imagine they cried a bit.
Yeah, they did. You know, it was funny. We were talking about it after. It's like we've never met them. Well, she's met Connie briefly in jail, but it's like we'd known them for 30 years. It's just that connection in the kingdom kind of thing, you know?
I was just going to say the exact same thing. Kingdom, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, it just felt like family. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't weird. It was, I mean, I think they stayed longer than they planned to, which was awesome, but yeah.
You weren't kicking them out, were you?
No. No, and then just thinking of this whole story, it's like if there's one message to get across, it's like keep planting seeds because, you know, one plants, one waters, and God causes it to grow. And we don't always see the growth of it, but there's not just people hurting in jail. There's not just people hurting in Teen Challenge. It's everywhere you go. So when you feel that nudge or that pull from the Lord to speak to someone, even if it's random on the street, if it's in a lineup at Superstore, give them an encouraging word because there's a reason God's nudging you, and you don't know what's going to come of that. Like, you know, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, we didn't think we'd be where we are today.
Right.
You know, had she not gone to that ministry outreach, you know.
Yeah, you guys wouldn't even be married today, right? Like, what was that? Anna Free, what do you want to say to like people that maybe they feel they're hopeless, they're too far gone, they're unlovable, they've done too much bad in the world? What do you say to that woman that's sitting in a jail cell today listening to this conversation?
Jesus loves you, and he wants the best for you, and just surrender it all. Just give it up, and you will experience such freedom. And yes,
it's funny in addiction, right? We don't want to give up the addiction often because like, oh, and I got to do this and do that and all these rules to follow God, right? And meanwhile, you can be sitting in a figurative jail cell of that addiction holding you prisoner, or a literal one, and you're still sometimes like, oh, I don't want anything to do with that. But there's so much, like, I don't know, you can just see the freedom on your face, right? And not just freedom from jail, but yeah, you've been set free.
I've been set free from everything. I'm a new creation. And I still believe to this day, God sent Connie for me. Probably other ladies too, but honestly, I don't remember the teachings that they did. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I just remember seeing the joy and happiness. I didn't have that all my life. I didn't have that. I was always searching for something. Later on, I figured out what I was searching for. I was searching for Jesus. But when I saw Connie, she was so happy and joyful, and that's when I was thinking, like, what does she have? I remember I was laying in my jail cell on the bunk thinking, what does she have that I do not have? And then this light bulb comes on, and then it was Jesus. Wow. And that is when I prayed to Jesus, which I didn't know that I can just talk to him like a friend. I don't remember my words, but I just said, have it all. I don't want it anymore. And that's when my life began to just turn around.
That is the greatest, deepest theological sentence, like to explain to people, you take this junk, Jesus.
Yes.
I don't want it. You take it. And he does, right? That's what he did on the cross. He took it on himself, and he set you free thousands of years before you even knew you were free. Eh?
That's right.
I love that. Connie, what's it like to sit here and listen and watch this? Like, they have their kids back now, right?
Yes.
They're married and they've got a great little family, and they're making a difference in Winkler, helping other people that are like they once were. And you were part of that. You were like a literal angel on earth, following and being the hands and feet of Jesus. What's that like to think about, that you've been used in that way?
It's mind-blowing. It's humbling. It's wow. There are no words to even describe it, but Ezekiel 36 says that God will give us a new heart, give us a new spirit. He will change us. And you just see the reality of God changing someone else's life, like going from one place, being renewed, having that new life. And the joy that brings, it's like, yes, I want another one. Like, I just want to do this more and more and more, because you never know the next one, because there are so many people in this world. Just like Steve said, it doesn't have to be in jail. It's just the people that you work with. It's the people that you see in the grocery store. They are hurting. They are desperate. They are lost. They are lonely. They need hope, and it's so exciting. And sometimes we are so stupid that we get so scared. Like, oh my goodness, what am I going to say? What are they going to think of me? Who really cares what they're going to think of you or what they're going to say of you? This is God's kingdom.
Right.
And if they would only hear this, the difference that Jesus can make in their lives, like it has for her, it's just renewed my excitement. It's just challenged me again to say, okay, what am I doing and where am I going? And God, where are you leading? Like, wherever it goes, I don't care. I'm excited to go forward because he's got it in his hands. We don't need to worry.
Glenn, what's it been like for you getting to watch this take place and see your wife's ministry and the fruit that it's given?
Yes, it's been really good to see. It's good to see the results of it. And it just continues us to press forward. My pastor says one of the signs of being filled with the Spirit is witnessing. And so I just encourage everyone to just keep on witnessing, and I know this is going to give a little spark to for my wife here. Yeah. So yeah, it's been awesome.
Anything else you guys want people to know and hear as they're watching this video and listening on the radio? Do we cover everything? Did I forget anything?
I guess for those struggling, don't be afraid to reach out.
Yeah.
It's you don't have to hold on to it. You don't have to live in that. You don't have to keep it to yourself. There's freedom in reaching out for help.
Yeah. Right. And you know it firsthand too,
Yeah.
Steve. Like I said, we met in the basement of Adult and Teen Challenge at a radiothon, right? And we've been friends. We don't get to talk very often or see each other much, but yeah, for years now. And yeah, you never know how God's going to connect you to people, to connect you to other people, right? And be willing to share that good news with him and be part of those seeds planted. I just love that whole image of, yeah, you're just dropping seeds wherever we go. And then God will use somebody else to take care of those seeds, right? Water them like Apollos and Paul, like you said, Steve. And really encouraging. I know it's encouraged me as a guy that just gets, kind of stuck in an office and a studio and you don't get to see things firsthand sometimes. It's really encouraged me, this story. And I know it's going to encourage a lot of others as well. And thank you for, especially Anna and Steve, thanks for being so open and honest with your story and your past, and especially for what God's done in your life since then. Bless you all. And Connie and Glenn, may God continue to use you in your ministry. And this Sunday when you're leading worship, trust God's going to use those songs again to speak to somebody else, right? Amen. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.